So I think it's very important that we think about this. We stop and think about all these terms. We don't try and confuse them too much. You see it in forum posts all the time. People saying, I've had ROCD, I've had HOCD, then I had POCD, then I had real event OCD, then I had guilt OCD, then I had harm OCD. And you're thinking, Jesus, this is like a mathematical equation. And then we're setting ourselves up for viewing all these hurdles we have to get through. I've got to get through that one, and get through that one, and get through that one, and get through that one. Instead, it's taking a step back and realizing that the brain presents with a array of thoughts, and then it latches out. So it has a thought, then it latches. It has a thought, then it latches. It has a thought, and then it latches. That's all that's happened. When you're feeling better and you're going along with your life, and then a new thought comes in, and then boom, it latches to that, and it holds until it becomes less scared, and then it reduces. So we need to be aware of that. The context of all anxiety disorders is various elements that provide the framework for an anxiety cycle to continue. With OCD, you have various things. You have fear of the disorder. You have fear of never getting better again. Fear of the thing you are scared of, the thing you're scared of from the past, the thing you're scared of for the future. So it's learning to be less scared in general of these things and create a distanced approach where we're looking back at the thoughts, looking back and observing, yes, in a mindful way, but not in the sense of mindfulness alone doesn't usually rarely cuts it for OCD when it's in its real chronic form. You need to have an understanding of self-acceptance to really get under it and really create a distance with those things and see that even if things were in reality certain things, they wouldn't be scary like you were. As Albert Ellis talks about in his guilt and shame video, even if somebody had committed 3 or 4 murders, there'd be no reason to be chronically guilty and chronically anxious. Yes, a mistake, a serious error had been made, and the human can acknowledge that and see he has made an error, he is fallible, he has made a mistake. But to be chronically guilty, so that his whole life, every second he's guilty, or whole life chronically anxious, serves no benefit to health to that individual. In that moment when he committed that mistake, he thought that that was the right thing or the thing to do for him. So, and it's not as simple as that. If you took all children, obviously, and gave them a good home and a good family, the chances of it would be a lot less likely. It's the sum of the environment plus the genes. Somebody who hasn't got empathy, like a lot of serial killers, they're very rare, but I'm saying people that are committing multiple criminal offences, they are in a position in their mind where to them those things don't seem as scary, or as they often know it's bad. Sometimes they don't see it like that, and it's completely different. So the perspective of the human, we have to put ourselves into their head. So it's the same as if you're arguing with someone. You've got to think, well, what are they thinking? How did they get to their position of thought? How did they get to their position of perspective? Their position comes from all the factors in their life that have brought them to this sort of experience in the present. So even somebody who's committed offences that have left them 100 years in jail, that individual does not need to feel chronically anxious. They can see that they've made a mistake, concern, a wrongdoing. They can feel sad that they have made a mistake of that magnitude, and they can want to change ways in themselves, or maybe they don't, based on genetic conditions outside of their control. Maybe they're psychopath, sociopath, whatever. So these things aren't as simplistic as that individual is bad or wrong. Even if we think of the people that we think are the most wicked in society, they could still usually do some good deeds when they try. They're not rotten through and through. All human beings are human beings, fallible. They can make mistakes. So we have to learn to accept human beings, whatever they've done, see that they're fallible, see that they can make mistakes, acknowledge they're human, see they have value just for being human. We can dislike their ways, we can dislike their errors, their judgments. We can try and have understanding into their perspective and how they see things. But we acknowledge that that is a human being. That is a human that has done something based on both their genes and their environment. Now, how much there's a free will argument there, well, it depends whether you believe in free will or not. Sam Harris has done some great, who I'm a great fan of, has done some great videos on YouTube on that, and he has a book on free will. I personally am sort of 50-50 on the matter. The science is obviously out on that one in relation to those things. It's very, very difficult to get your head around that stuff. Obviously, that can trigger existential OCD, but we can get under that too with acceptance. But it's very difficult. If we had the same genes as the people we loathe the most in society, or we were in jail or whatever, if we had the same genes and the same environment, chances are we'd have done exactly the same as them. And depending on that argument of free will, which it looks like we would have. So it's not as simplistic as we tend to sort of box things down into good, bad, black, white. We tend to do that with thinking. That's what we do as humans. It's very easy to judge, write off, separate other humans from ourselves in ways because of those judgments that are designed for survival a lot of the time. And so we've learned to think like that. But in our modern social media type world today, we're more judging than ever and writing humans off and trying to protect ourselves and our version of how we accept ourselves and so on.